One is your private property rights, where it's very clearly defined that you own the property. You are a private person who owns the property. The second is called the state property rights, where the state owns the property. The third is called common property rights or common pool resources, where a community owns the property, not anyone. And the fourth is no property rights, where nobody owns the resource. Now, for a long time, the law-and-economics movement could not differentiate between the third and the fourth. For a long time, there was no differentiation between third and the fourth. So, what happens when there is no property right? It means that anybody can come and just like public goods, it becomes an area where anybody can come. There is a piece of land, people can put their house to live. But unlike public goods, first part of public goods, you satisfy that you can subtract anybody, you can exclude anybody. But the second part of the code, that if someone comes in, then the pile is decreased.
Consumption is viable.
So it does not become a public good. Oceans. You can fish that you have a certain amount of people by no, something take a pond. Take a pond. Nobody owns the pond. If there is a village, everybody can catch fish. You can't exclude anybody. But if everybody catches fish, the catch of other people. Fishery will become a problem. Now what happens is that the economic movement saw the third and the fourth to be equal. So common property resources were never regarded as something that gave you an efficient solution. So therefore, it was only private property or state property. And so the main thing that happened was when we codified our laws, we said any land that is seized by anybody for more than 12 years, anything more than 12 years gets property rights over that piece of land.
That's the Indian law.
Indian, when we codified forests, everything under state property. All forests were under state property rights. The Forest Department was created in 1964. The first Forest Act came in 1965. The Britishers were unhappy with it. They formed another act in 1878. And more or less that same act has been replicated as the 1927 Indian Forest Act, which holds till date. So our Forest Act is nearly 150 years old, or at least more than 150 years old. It was done by the British with the specific purpose of taking away forests. Irrespective of people staying in the forest for 200 years old. Forget 12 years. So when the Narmada Dam was made, the areas that were inundated were the forests. And since the property rights were the state, the people had no claim whatsoever. You take it or you don't. You cannot even go to court and say this is not just compensation. Private property, when you take it, if I feel that the last transaction was more than this, and I have not been paid even just compensation, I can actually go to court. So the Narmada Bacha, that was the main issue. See, these people can't even go to court. These people have no right to respect staying on this land for more than 200 years or 500 years. That is why you went into the anthropological bit. So the Narmada Bacha became very important. And today we have the Forest Rights Act, which has been enacted, which gives about up to 4 hectares to every family within the forest is, you can say, in some way termination of number. So that's the property right entire.
So in a way, that court judgment has defined, in a way, laid the ground for this particular act, which actually changed the definition of the property right in this context.
Yeah, and to a huge extent, let's be honest, Manmohan Singh and the left in the first UPA term were very, very important in failing them. The forest department are still completely against it, but they can't do anything that becomes the law. They can't do anything because it's being enforced by the tribal organization.
Okay.
It is being implemented by them, by taking land away from the forest department. So they just can't stand the law. I mean, they think that everywhere the forest is disappearing, but that's not. So, a huge part of law and economics is this thing about property. So, if we now go back to court on where we are started, it is about defining property rights. If the property rights are not defined, then the bargaining becomes meaningless. Because then, if you are bargaining about this chair, and if the property rights of this chair is not defined, then we will never reach an end to this bargaining. Until you believe me or I believe you. So therefore, that is when we go to court. So, coming back, so I am trying to link everything back to post-civil community order, back to the basic of economics where we look at the 4 conditions of market failure and look at how to solve those market failures. Now, going back to the third example of say asymmetric information. We talked about public goods, our middle is a single problem. We talked about extension vis-a-vis post theorem and the open thing. Let's go back to asymmetric information. What happens in asymmetric information? Let's go back to the example I gave. I want to take a car, I want to sell it. I know more about my car than the person who is buying it. So the price that he will assign will be less. It will be more than I will assign because he doesn't know the defects of the car. It looks very glossy and all. I've just done the servicing and he drives it around and finds it too perfect. The market came out with second-hand certified cars. Okay, before that, how do you find me and how do I find me? You want to buy a car, I want to sell a car. So first you have to find me, then you have to sit down together and decide. So that is the transaction cost. This transaction cost in court sale was zero. Court sale said that straight away we can buy it. No. So the market comes up with solution. So the market came up with the solution for class price. Well, I was on that. And the search cost was minimized. Because by reading those class prices, you could identify this person has a second-hand car. Gucci is the model, like, you want to buy a car but not on this price. So you saw whoever was linked as a second-hand car. So you could, okay, read the search cost is minimized. Then you sit down and buy. So there is a transaction cost which the market found a solution to minimize. If that solution was not there, then it would be a wild problem that would find me and I would find you.